Hello, and welcome to Pod from Another World, Episode 1. And you see, in today's episode, I wanted it to be a hot takes episode because I thought it would be funny. But, ever since Avatar The Last Airbender came out, the series, everyone's been talking about live actions. And you know what? I've been thinking about doing a live actions episode anyway, so I just bumped it up to right now. Yeah, and today's episode won't fully be about Avatar. I will just be talking about live actions in general, the good, the bad, the okay, and, some upcoming ones that just got announced. So to get into it, the first one I'm going to talk about is the one that inspired today's episode. So let's talk about Avatar The Last Airbender, the series, real quick. And if I had to rate it, honestly, I would give it a 4.5 out of 10. I considered it okay, especially considering that the movie was so much worse. And let me explain why. So, okay, I'm not even going to talk about like CGI or cinematography because, it's been 14 years since the movie. And, after 14 years, the series better be better. Good English right there. It better be better than the movie that was 14 years ago. Yeah, the series did have some cool moments. One that I really liked was, Zuko and his relationship with his fleet. I forget the fleet number, the 41st fleet, the one he saved from being killed, the one that led to the Agni Kai and him being banished from the Fire Nation. I thought that was cool. Not the Agni Kai. The Agni Kai was a little weird. Then also, if I had to give props to the series, it would be the spirits. Not the spirit world, but the spirits in there. I thought they looked really good. And also some of the, not some, I'd probably say like all of the animals, like Appa. Momo wasn't that bad. I forget her name, but what's the word I'm looking for? The tracker that Zuko and Iroh hired to find Aang. The pet that she's on, or the one that she has that can smell people's scents and find them, I thought that one looked really cool as well. And the last and probably only good thing from the show is Suki. But yeah, moving on to the bad stuff. I won't go fully into it. I'll just say, let's start from the beginning. The beginning I thought made no sense. Like, why start off with who I believe is Zhang Zhang and that earthbender going away with that scroll, and that scroll was a plan from Ozai, or I forget who the Fire Lord at the time was, to attack the Air Nation temple instead of Ba Sing Se, because they wanted to show this massacre genocide of the air nomads when it wasn't really needed. I didn't care for that much. Like, if you ask me, it should have just started off obviously with Aang at the air temple with other air nomads, finding out he's the Avatar, doesn't like that, runs away, storm, crashes into the ocean, creates that ice ball, then you begin the opening. Like, that would have been a good time for like Gran to be like talking to her kids about it, or have the opening be said by Katara, like in the cartoon. Which leads me into the next thing I didn't like all that much, and it was Gran saying the opening randomly. Okay, has anyone seen Coco? Does anyone know the grandma in Coco? I don't know why it reminded me of that. Like, someone said this trigger word, and suddenly the old lady in the corner just started saying something from her past. It felt like that. Like, it went on for so long. Like, I understand it was the whole opening, but it wasn't needed. Like, you should have just said the opening as the opening. And they kind of already did, didn't they? Like, that had that whole animatronic or CGI, not animatronic, the whole CGI opening of the water, fire, all the nations once used to live together in harmony. They had all that, and then they just said it again. I think that's the main reason why it just felt so out of place. Well, that, and it just felt like the grandma was just having a weird, not manic, just having this weird episode of just going off and talking about the past. Like, yes, Gran, okay. Let's get you to your room. Oh, and also to give it some points, what it did better than the movie for sure was at least the firebenders could firebend. Like, in the movie, they couldn't even create fire. They had to get it from a source of fire, which was dumb. But, in the series, they actually made them create fire. So I'll give points there. That was good. At least they got that right. But overall, if I had to rate the whole show, I don't know if I said already, I'll give it a 4.5. 4.5 out of 10. So it was okay. It wasn't the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst thing I've seen. I'll go over the worst live action I've ever seen in just a bit. But staying on, let me get my notebook. Staying on the subject of okay live actions, the next one I would say is Speed Racer. Now, it's been a little while since I've seen Speed Racer. I probably should see it again, but I'm positive if I see it again, I would still say it's okay, especially considering when it came out. I thought it did a pretty good job. And for another okay live action series, I would honestly say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or Full Metal Alchemist the live action. I give it an okay because it didn't give us anything new. It just said the story, or the beginning story of FMA that we already know. And they changed something towards the end, with the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to call them dummies, like those fake bodies that they put spirits in. They brought that in really quick. Like, it wasn't needed. Like, again, the whole live action wasn't needed, but it was okay. It just felt safe and like a quick cash grab. Yeah, didn't hate it, but wasn't necessary, wasn't needed. I would say it's okay. And this next one actually might be surprising to some people, but I thought the Cowboy Bebop was okay. Yeah, I didn't fully hate Cowboy Bebop, the live action. Okay, the vibe from the live action, it was pretty much almost there. I would say Jet killed it. Spike Spiegel, the actor, I forget his name right now, he did well. He did okay. Now, was he a little bit older than how you would imagine Spike Spiegel to be? Yeah. And going back to Avatar, people said that the live action Jet should play a live action Spike Spiegel, and when I look at it, I see it. I think he would kill it. But as for the actor who played, I believe his name is John something, he did okay. I remember one specific scene though. He's hanging off the roof, and Jet has him by one leg, and in that moment of him upside down, he lights a cigarette and then tells Jet, "Well, what are you waiting for? Pull me up." I thought that was very Spike, so I was like, okay, he nailed it right there for sure. But then as for Faye, I thought Faye did okay. It wasn't the best, but a character I definitely didn't like, or at least how they told his story, was Vicious. Like, they gave an entire backstory that I don't think was ever said in the originals, like, series. Like, Vicious' backstory, I just didn't appreciate it. I think it just wasn't needed. It just took a lot away from the story for me. Like, Vicious, just like in the anime, kind of should have just stayed like almost anonymous. Like, you know who he is, but you don't know exactly who he is. That's why in the live action they told a little too much. Like, I didn't care. And the whole vibe of him just felt like he felt like a Malfoy from Harry Potter. I did not like that at all. Yeah, I won't stay too long on Cowboy Bebop. I will say that they almost ended the series right. Almost. Especially considering that it was a series and they were obviously planning to do a second season. And then the way they ended this first season, I thought they almost ended it correctly. The ending fight with Vicious and Spike, and then Spike gets blown out of the church window and then falls into the river or wherever. I thought that's how it ended. I was like, okay, yes, that was a beautiful ending to lead off to a second season. But no, the real ending was that super cringy scene with Edward, I believe. With Ed, I believe, finding Spike or someone and then being super, super animated, where it was like, I was just so cringe. Like, that was passed around everywhere. And that really just was not bad. That was just not good. It was not good at all. But overall for the series, I thought it was okay. I give it especially an okay because at least they made it a season or a series rather than they did a movie. Because if they did a movie and then tried to do everything from the anime, it would just be super compact and then skip everything. It just wouldn't have felt right. I think if they made it a movie, I would have put it as bad. But as a series, it was okay. But now, moving on to bad, I'll get it right out of the way. The worst live action I've ever seen was Death Note, the live action. And then let me try to quickly explain why. Okay, so just Death Note, the live action as a whole, did not feel like Death Note. I left a comment one time on TikTok. I'll try to find it, put it up on the YouTube version. But a lot of people agreed with me. And what I basically said was the Death Note live action didn't feel like Death Note. It felt more like an episode of Riverdale. And you know what? I still think it's true. Like, the way it opened up, it felt like something produced by the CW. Like, it did not feel like Death Note, and it started raining and Light immediately just puts his backpack over his head and starts running. Like, wasn't the vibe of Light. And I'll be honest, I did not finish Death Note the live action. Did not finish it. What made me just go, nope, click it off was right when he met Ryuk and just started screaming. That was completely out of character for Light. Like, I don't know if that was creative freedom that the actor wanted to do or that a director told him to do that. But it obviously felt like this little, let's add some comedy into the show, and that was not the place to do it. That just completely killed the vibe. Can you believe some people tried telling me that the movie wasn't that bad solely due to I believe there was a scene where they're falling off a carnival ride and the way the slow-mo was shot. People are saying it wasn't that bad, that one scene. I'm like, I don't care about that one scene. That one scene doesn't make the whole thing good. But I don't know. As for Death Note live action, I am a full-on hater for it, so I do not like it. So ever since then, my bar for really bad anime live actions has been kind of raised. Like, you got some competition there now that the Death Note live action exists. And I've said it earlier before, Avatar the movie. The Avatar movie, that was bad. Yep. Also, I won't be rating these because I consider these to be like a 1 or below. So Avatar the movie, not good. We'll never watch it again. Don't know why it exists. But moving on to another one, I would say Dragon Ball Evolution. And let me tell you something. As someone who grew up with Dragon Ball, I'm not even going to be like lenient on this one. This Dragon Ball Evolution did not feel like Dragon Ball. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I'll list off the main thing that people talk about. Piccolo, that was not Piccolo. And another thing that I'll mention is it's pretty much a meme when he's fighting, Goku's fighting those two dudes and he keeps sliding his head onto the car. That's like the only good thing to come from this live action was that meme right there. Goku constantly sliding his head on the car back and forth when fighting those two people. Oh, another quick thing about Dragon Ball Evolution, the dude that plays Yamcha, that guy has a YouTube channel. It's called What's Up Man, and I watch it from time to time. He's pretty funny. And also, if you don't know, he's a K-pop OG. I mean, like, he's your K-pop idol's idol. Like, I did not know that at the time. I learned that 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah, he used to be in a group called G.O.D. Yeah, check him out. He's a cool dude. He's from Cali, just like me. Or at least I think he's from Cali. But yes, moving on to some good live actions. Now you're probably thinking, good live actions exist? Now, this one, it's not going to be anime. I'm going to say The Boys. The Boys was a comic. The comic was atrocious, and if I had to describe the Boys comic, I would describe it as insufferable. Like, the whole idea of it and everything, like, I'm surprised it got a live action just from looking at the source material, but the live action is honestly one of my favorite shows ever. But The Boys, I guess I would call it a live action, but The Boys is really good. Super violent, kind of edgy, I guess, but at least it's in its own world and it understands what it's doing. The Boys is just really good for me. So I would consider The Boys good if you were to consider it a live action. Now, if I had to say a good live action from an anime, I think there's only one, or at least one that I've seen, and that would be One Piece. Now, I know it might seem a little biased because I've been watching One Piece for over 20 years, but no, it's not perfect, but I would say it is good because no one expected One Piece to be as good as it was. If anything, there are probably people, well, for sure there are people that consider it a train wreck or absolute garbage, but I kind of need to hear from them why they think that. But as for me, I think they did a pretty good job setting the tone of One Piece. Like, it is, in fact, One Piece, and I appreciate that they didn't make it like Edward from Cowboy Bebop, make him act out at 1,000, because you have to admit, One Piece is super goofy, super in your face. Like, it could have been really easy for them to be like, you need to be super animated 1,000,000% of the time. And another thing that could be said about One Piece live action is, did we need it? No, technically we don't really need any of these live actions, but I do want to say that the One Piece live action definitely has brought in more fans because it's a lot easier to digest, rather than watching the thousands of episodes that are out right now. And that's the other thing. Hold up. Let me say this so it could be probably put into a YouTube video. The One Piece live action made my parents start watching One Piece. And yeah, I think that's pretty telling of the live action One Piece, was the fact that it could get non-One Piece fans to care about the story and watch it. And that's the thing about One Piece, the live action. I didn't tell my parents to check it out. Like, I didn't say that they're making it, that it's coming out for them to check it out. I kind of just, well, my brothers told me that they just started watching it. And I was like, what? I'm like, yeah. And they were just like, yeah, they started watching it and like, they're actually paying attention. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they finished it and they actually understand why me and my brothers really like One Piece now. I mean, for sure, they got like the cliff notes or the idea of One Piece. You have to keep in mind though, when I started One Piece, it was like an episode every week from the very beginning in like 2003, because that's when it came out, by the way. Someone tells you they've been watching One Piece since the 90s, they're lying. Unless they're like some of my old friends from an old job of mine who actually grew up in Japan. Then they probably watched it from then. But if they're from the States, they're lying to you. They have not been watching it since the 90s. And also, my first time watching One Piece, it was the 4Kids version, because that was the version that came out. And then it later on went on to Toonami. Yeah, to speak about how good or how well they did the One Piece live action, I would just use my parents as the example. Like, if you didn't watch One Piece, like I said, you could get a grasp of what the show is about, who these characters are. And like, sure, they fast forward some things, but again, they're just trying to get the point across rather than trying to tell the story with 100 episodes within just the first season. And like I said before, it could have been so easy to have made the show completely goofy. I keep in mind, he's a rubber man, so the CGI is not perfect, but you know what? I think they did a very good job of it. As for Buggy's character, Buggy, I'm like iffy about. I mean, like, I know all the girls are thirsting over Buggy, which is a little surprising for me, but whatever, live your life. You know, the One Piece live action had a lot of pretty cool moments, so if anything, I do consider the One Piece live action a really good adaptation to the source material. And I also want to say that's probably not only the doing because Oda was involved with it. I do want to say that I want to say that the actors involved also played a huge hand in it, and not only them, the director, people working on it, and also the fact that they actually built a lot of the sets rather than having everything be CGI or one giant blue screen or green screen. I think that helped the total vibe of the show as well. So agree with me, don't agree with me, let me know. I do think the One Piece live action was really good. Now on for the next ones. I've heard these are good, but I have not seen them. So the first one is Rurouni Kenshin. Like, you might be thinking that was good. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I have heard a lot of people say it was good. So I'm kind of interested in seeing it. It's a little iffy topic right now, especially with the creator, but you have to understand I grew up with that one as well. So I don't know. It's super confusing for me since I used to watch it as a kid way back when. And another good one is that people have watched and told me about. It is Alice in Borderland. And that one's a little surprising. I honestly would say Alice in Borderland got as popular as it did mainly because of Squid Game. Like, I remember a lot of people watching Squid Game and then immediately trying to catch that same high from Squid Game, so they went to Alice in Borderland. And here's the thing, Alice in Borderland does have a manga and it does have an anime, so I don't know how good it is. If anything, I kind of want to read the manga, then watch the anime, and then watch the live action. Because keep in mind, I don't think anyone else has read or seen the anime for Alice in Borderland before seeing the live action. But moving on to two other live actions that I heard were good and don't have anime are 20th Century Boys and I Am a Hero. And also, these two are titles that I have been wanting to read the manga for quite some time now, but haven't. I really should read them soon so I can watch the live actions, because I don't want to watch the live actions right now because I think it'll just ruin the story. Like, I believe they're going to try to tell the whole story within the movie, or at least most of it, but it will be a lot of plot skipping, so I don't want to do that and ruin the manga experience for me. But I have heard those two are good. And now going back to bad that I haven't seen, and that is Attack on Titan and Ghost in the Shell. I have yet to see those two, but I would consider Attack on Titan in the why was this made category, even though I would honestly say Attack on Titan was popping at the time, so they quickly put out a live action. And for Ghost in the Shell, yep, everyone's favorite Asian girl, Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, that's a thing right there, but I haven't seen it, even though I have grown up with Ghost in the Shell as well. I might see it Let me know in the comments or something that if I should check it out or if it's just gonna be a waste of my time. But honestly, I think I'm gonna check it out sooner or later. And another one on my list to watch is Blade of the Immortal. And I do want to see Blade of the Immortal, the live action, because it's one of my favorite manga. So I do want to check out the live action. And I've seen the anime. And if you were to watch the anime, I recommend the Amazon version. The very first adaptation of Blade of the Immortal kind of just jumps over all over the place, and it's hard to find anyways. And the Amazon one, it did an okay job. That one, it skips a whole lot, so I do recommend the manga first and then watching the anime. But for the live action of it, I do want to watch it just so I could see what it's all about. And another live action, or two rather, I want to check out are, it's more Dragon Ball live actions, but these two are super old. I'm talking like 1990 and 1991. So that one I do want to watch just because I want to see how it was done back then. I do want to see it. That sounds interesting to me. Might make it into a video. And then moving on, another one I want to see that I didn't even know had a live action. It was Guyver the Bio Boosted Armor. Now, if you don't know that one or that title, I recommend the anime. Just go into it blind. I'm not going to explain it. Just check it out. I think it's super cool. But the fact that they made it a live action and it has like Mark Hamill and a bunch of other Hollywood stars in it. Oh, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was a total flop, but I do want to check it out just so I can see it for myself. And then the last live action I do want to check out is Tokyo Ghoul. See, I'm a big fan of the manga anime series. Not so much, but as for Tokyo Ghoul live action, I think I've heard people say it's not that bad either, but I don't know, I do want to check it out. I want to see if they made the live action more like the manga or like the anime. So I might watch that sooner or later as well. And let me see. I have something pulled up next to me of other live actions that they made. And some of these I didn't even know they were live action. Okay, like I know Kingdom was a live action. Terraformers, I did not know that was a live action. The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, I did not know that was a live action as well. I know they did Parasite. Devilman, did not know that. Or Ace Attorney. I don't know. It's surprising how many live actions there are. And if I were to talk about why to make live actions, I would say it's the main reason, the same reason why they did One Piece. It's just trying to get a new fan base to get into the series. Because you have to keep in mind, a lot of people don't like anime. So if they saw a live action version of it, they might care for it. Like my parents with One Piece. And actually they've started watching One Piece because of the live action. Now, have they watched it recently? Not so much because, busy people and so many episodes, but they at least, like I said, they got into it and wanted to give it a try. So they started watching it, which I thought, damn, that was pretty cool. And that just shows how well the live action did. So that leads me into live action I do want to see be made. And the first one I have written down, it's Gundam, but then I figured out a while ago that a live action Gundam is being made, which is kind of surprising. But okay, as someone who does like Gundam and is trying to watch the entire franchise for Gundam, the first thing that came to mind when making a live action was I kind of hope they don't make it around the 1 year war. Like there's already so much Gundam content surrounding the 1 year war that I kind of hope the live action doesn't do that. And you know what? The first thing I read was the director saying he wants it to be like the anchor point of he understands how many Gundam episodes there are or series, that he wants the live action to be like the very first thing you watch to get into it. And I'm just like, no, we already got that. It's the first Gundam. That's the first Gundam you should be watching. Like, please, like not all the Gundams connect. You can literally make your own timeline, your own characters, your own story. Hell, you can make your own Gundam. Like you can do that. So I don't know. But then again, I read something else that it's actually going to be in the year 105 of the Universal Time Century, which is just before the movie Hathaway. If you don't know Gundam, probably talking a bunch of gibberish, but either way, Gundam, the movie, live action rather, I think it would be pretty good if, like I said, they just made their own timeline for Gundam, different characters, completely new Gundams. Like you can do that with Gundam. So if they did that, I think a live action would do pretty well. Okay, now for my next one that I want to be a live action. This might be shocking, but I will say Berserk. And now I don't mean a movie, I mean a full-blown series. And not just a series, make it like an HBO series. Now if we're talking making a live action like Game of Thrones, I think you can do that with Berserk perfectly. Just give it the time and the budget, and I think it would do so well, and you would get so many new fans. Because God knows the animes haven't really done a good job of adapting the manga. So sad. But either way, like I said, if you give it the time and the money, I think a live action series on HBO can do well. Hell, like, I don't know, I've kind of said this before. I don't know if anyone's a fan of Spawn, but I want Berserk, the live action, to be the Spawn for comics and cartoons on HBO. If that makes sense. Okay, I'll explain that real quick. When they made the Spawn animations, the Spawn animation was like the first on HBO to have all like the censor warnings, you know, like bloody graphics, swearing, all that. Like they literally had every single tag. And I believe Berserk can do that as well, but do that for the anime side rather than the comic side. But like I said, just make it live action. Or if HBO wants to produce an animation, a proper animation of Berserk, I'll be okay with that too. Because remember, Berserk definitely is for adults, so I think that's been what's been holding back a good adaptation of Berserk. Alright, and another thing I do want to see adapted is Vinland Saga. But like I said, in the same vein as Berserk, I want it to be a series on HBO. So kind of like Vikings. So if you could do Vikings and all that, just make it the story of Vinland Saga. I think that will do pretty well as a live action. But again, give it the time and the budget. I think it would do well. I mean, you could say that for any of these live actions, but I don't know. Vinland Saga and Berserk just have their own vibe to it. I mean, sure, Berserk has the dark fantasy aspect, but Vinland Saga, it's more human. So I think that would be easier to obtain. So Vinland Saga, definitely up there for a live action I'd love to see. And now for live actions have always been like, let's make a in-person IRL live action of like said comic, video game, or anime. But you know what? What if you did the opposite? You know, that's been kind of a trend lately. So what I mean is, you know, the whole Suicide Squad being turned into an anime, an isekai anime of all things. Then you have the Terminator being turned into an anime, John Wick, that's another one. So it had me thinking, what other kind of like Western property could be turned into a good anime? And now I'm not going to go over a whole list of it. I'm just going to give you my number one. And I think the best one to be turned into an anime would be Real Steel. So I don't know if you've seen that Hugh Jackman movie where he's controlling robots and it's robots fighting robots. But I think that would make the perfect anime. Now hold up, let me explain, let me cook. Okay, so it already kind of has an anime theme to it, but would make it even better is that it starts off with a fully grown man rather than a kid. So that's already going to make it different, and really cool to me is that it starts off with an adult just trying to get by being a fighter, but not a fighter himself, controlling robots with a controller and having those fight together. So, you know, like BattleBot style. I think that would translate to an anime so well. And okay, for animation studio, I think that would do it well. Studio Trigger. I think Studio Trigger would kill it as a Real Steel anime. So yeah, that's my number one pick for a Western media title to be turned to an anime. Real Steel. There are others, but who knows, I might make it a full video or not. We'll see. But now on to, ever since Avatar came out, they've announced some live actions. One super surprising, well, actually they're all surprising. So let's get to the first super surprising one. It was Naruto. They announced Naruto live action. Let me tell you something, no one expected that, and the creator said he's on board with it. Now as for how well is the execution going to be, I don't know. I'm willing to give it a try because again, ever since One Piece came out, a lot of people have been trying to make live actions now. And who knows, it might work. If they can get One Piece to work, they might be able to get Naruto to work. Because again, it's Naruto, so they might be able to get the budget and the passion behind that one as well. But the super surprising one that was announced recently is actually Parasite. They're making another Parasite live action. But what makes this one interesting is it's being done in Korea. So it's going to be done by Korean media, and it's the same people that did Train to Busan. So I'm actually really interested in this one. It comes out in April on Netflix, so I'll be checking that one out. And lastly, this one's been announced, but you know, the My Hero Academia live action that's gonna be on Netflix. I don't see that one doing well, but I'm mentioning it right now because I do. Hopefully soon, I plan on putting out a video of like my fan cast of who would I want to play as the actor, or what actors I'd want to play as the characters in My Hero Academia. It's totally going to be a joke, but I did make a serious or somewhat serious list of actors who I think would be very funny to play it. You know, like if Hollywood had their full reign of casting for My Hero Academia, that's my list. Should be a funny video, who knows? So stay tuned for that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching or listening if you're over on Spotify. Thank you for just listening to me yap on and on about live action shows that I did enjoy, kind of enjoyed, or just despised. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. It means a lot. But as for the next episode, I do want it to be the hot take episode. So if you're listening on Spotify, there should be a poll on the episode 0 where you could submit your own anime hot takes, because I do want to go over some people's along with my own. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment or go over to the community tab where I've left kind of like a Google form where you could answer the question right there. Yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. See you in the next episode.